um I would like to add one more stuff in this our design. Where is that table? Index records. I think we only have. I want to add something. I just want to add something simple, something like clear lists, whereby I can clear all data, just like how we add it in our to do. PHP dash s local hosts port 200. Okay, submit. So index records.php, add new students, probably beside it. Let me just have another button called clear records. So I think I will go down. This is it. Add new students. Let me see. Copy, paste, clear records. Let's see. Let's change the color. Success. What's the other one? Secondary failure alerts. Oh, I don't know. Is there alert safe? No, there's no alert. Where is this bootstrap? By the way, let me check if my XAMPP is still running. Oh, it's not running.
Alexis,
Hmm?
please let me ask, that ZAMP, must you close it every day?
No, it's not.
Because my own has been running since that how many days? So hope there is no harm.
No, no issue, no issue.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so I was looking for something, button colors. Okay, let me use dark. Good, 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 good. Okay, so yes, last I said yesterday, last class we did the create parts of CRUD. So today let's start with reading parts, which means reading all the data coming from the database and showing it in our table here. Um, just so you recall, this is majorly our home page. But I think maybe we should have a button that can take us to to see our index page here. So let me go to the index, submit button. Probably not a button, just kind of like, well, a a button with a link. Let's see, anchor tag. Um, what should we call it now? Show um uh ah, what's me we call them now? View records. Abi which one? View records. Then the page would be index underscore php. I don't know. Maybe let's see if this button would work inside this anchor tag. Though it won't be primary, but let's see if it's showing here. Okay. So where can I place this now? Let's see if I place it inside the button. if it will tally up with, okay, let's go this way. Then you can change the color. What's the options for bootstrap colors? Let me go back to that page. Let's use info. So I'm gonna change this to info. Refresh, submit, view records. So if I click on view records, it takes me to this page. If I click on add students should take me to the index page. So I'm gonna change this to index.php. This clear record should be a button though, not an anchor tag. So button type should be submit. Okay, so if I refresh this, add new students takes me to this page, view records takes me to this page, add new students. So let's just add something new. So Gladys, whatever, 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 submit, form submitted successfully. Let's see that. So view records, okay, this is hard coded, it's not coming from the database yet, so we are yet to make this thing dynamic from our database. Localhost php myadmin. Student records, no, student record, yeah, student records, yeah, records. Okay, yeah, the Adani is here. Okay, I even have one before. Okay, okay, so now this is not working. The index page is not dynamic, which is what we want to do, which is the read part of our code, the arg. So let's see how to get that done. Also, we'll now get this one to done, the clear records as well. So first of all, let's sort out this index reading method. So I have to go to this page because this is the page where it is located, index records. So this is index records, go back up, down, invite PHP, and close PHP. Okay, so as expected, we are going to use our database as usual. So we need to import our database. So require, and our database is located inside the includes directory, and the name of the file is dbconnect. So you can use require or you can use require once, either of them. Shall use this require than using include. Then what else can we do? So since we know the database, we've retrieved it here, we can call the function of our database, which is connectdb, and now we store this function inside the variable. Now let's read data from our database. Reading from the database. Now for us to read stuff from the database, for us to view stuff by SQL, we need to use the MySQL select statement. The select statement is used to select data from a database. The data returned is stored in a results table called the results sets. Select, how does it work? So you write select, put the columns you want to fetch from, whatever table, then put the table name. But if you know you want to want to fetch all data from all tables, instead of writing each of the column one by one, you can just use asterisk. So to fetch all columns from that table. So that's simply what select is. Very simple and straightforward. Now, I'm going to write that SQL statement. I'm going to say select everything. I need everything from the table. That is, I want to see full name, ID, username, faculty, department, admission type, comment, everything out. So I'll just use asterisk. From the name of my table, the name of my table is records, I think. Records, yeah, records table. So records. So from select everything from this table. Let me check something. Okay, good. So select everything from this table. Very easy and straightforward. And everything that is being fetched out, I would like to store it in a variable. I can just name it SQL. So everything that's coming from that my PHP my admin, everything that is retrieved, all the table data, I'm storing inside this variable SQL. Now we would need to then like query out the result, because now I'm just putting a command, my SQL command, but it has no connection with this database. So I need to find a way to connect both of them so that this command will run inside this database, which means I'm going to use this function. This is a new function, my SQLite query. So it will query out the stuff from the database. So I'm connecting the database and also the MySQL statements. You can see the relation now. So this these two are now like together in a way. So they will fetch out the data from PHP my admin, and this is what should hold it, a new variable. So this is what will hold the all information coming from PHP my admin for that database. Now I can just do one last thing, which is to just fetch all of those results as an associative array. But before that, just like how I always do, I like checking for errors to be sure that everything is going fine. So if this whole thing is true, it should do the next step. But if there is any error from this part, it should show me the error as usual. So I'm going to say if results. So if results is by any chance false, because if there's an error there, it means it's a false. So if it is false, echo out for me the error, my SQLite error. But if everything goes fine, that is the else. If everything is actually going fine there, in that case, fetch me all the data coming from PHP my admin. Fetch them all as an associative array. So how to do that? I'm going to use this function, my SQL underscore fetch underscore all. Then I'm going to put the results variable. Then I'm going to specify how it should come out. So let it come out in an associative format, which is this is the short form of writing it. My SQLite associative. Remember, associative variable is different from index
in
variable.
capital letters.
Yes, it must be in capital letter like this. So associative variable, I think there's no need of me explaining the difference between index array and associative array. We've talked that in several times. So this will come out in an associative format, and I would like to store it in a variable. Let's just say my variable is all data. So we are done reading the database. You can see this is just a few lines of code to read from the database. First, write the command of all the tables you want to read. For my case, I want to read out all the tables, so that's why I use asterisk. But if you want specific columns, you have to specify the names of the column one by one. And I'm storing every stuff in this variable. Then I connected our database and I stored it in this variable. And this connection work because I have to first import the database file inside this new file. So now I run a MySQL query to connect both the database connection and this MySQL statement, because this is just like a normal statement, it's not doing anything. So now it's entering inside here has made it done something inside our database connection, which is holding the results. Now we are now ensuring that whatever result that is being fetched out, we want to make sure it comes out in associative format. So MySQLite fetch all in associative format. Then I'm storing everything inside all data. Let me open this thing. MySQLite fetch all function from PHPMyAdmin, PHP documentation. So it takes two things, the parameter, two things, the results and the mode at which you want to fetch it. So the results, which is what's coming out from MySQL underscore query. Remember MySQL underscore query. This is it, which is what we use as, which we call results as a variable. So the first part here, is this first part here should take this function inside here, while the next part should take the mode of how you want it to be generated, which is this mode you are seeing here. So the mode can be MySQL associative in associative array format or MySQL norm. This MySQL norm is saying index array, so associative array format or index array format or both. Okay, so that's why I'm specifying the mode should be in associative format. Also this results aspects, like this resulting we did here, we use MySQL Lite query connection and all of that. I think it depends on some scenario. You have other options, you can use this and this. So I think each of them have their own way of fetching the results query or this. So I think probably all of them could work. Yeah, probably all of them could work. But anyways, this is the first one I used here as the parameter. So that's why we're saying it here. So we are done with the reading from the PHP. So now let's actualize it in our front end so we can see all the data in our front end, which means I want to save it in here. So I'll go to HTML, locate where it is. So this is table, this is the heading, this is the hard coded part one, not the C function. So we'll have to make it dynamic. So how are we gonna do that? We're going to use the same logic we use in to do app. So first of all, we have to ensure that this all data is not empty, which means it must have something. So I'll go to this part. I think after the table head should be fine. So I'll just put my PHP condition statements here. So I will say if it's not empty, if this all data is not empty, which means if those data are coming from PHPMyAdmin and they have data there, let it do something for me. So that it generates the table dynamically for me. Else, so for now let me complete the else. So this is table body. Let me close it. So the else will be after the table body. So else, that means if it is empty, if nothing is coming from the PHPMyAdmin. So I'm going to write else do what? By the way, let me first end this stuff. And if, because you surely need to end if. What's going on now? And if What I don't get is this underline. Unexpected and if. Did I make any mistake here? PHP. Okay. I'm supposed to put not semicolon, colon here. Colon here. Can see that kind of tiny mistake. Colon here. Colon here. Is the only the ending you put semicolon. So if, yeah, so what should happen if it is empty? So if it's empty, just tell me it is empty. So no student records found. How will I design this now? I no get strength for wish styling. Let me just leave it like this, sha. So let me refresh this page. Let's see. Refresh. Okay, yeah, it won't work. I was wondering why it's not working. Yeah, it won't like it's working. Like we are not expected. We are not supposed to see this because truly we have something in PHP my admin. I know we do have something here. We should expect to see that nothing, no student record, but because we have something here, which means the if statement, the first statement here, which is this one, is true because all data is not empty, so it is true. So it is try to want to fetch out the table for us. And I would like to adjust this to the front so that it can be well aligned. Let me close this like this also. So we can access all of this. So instead of number one, so we have to be doing each of them one by one. So instead of number one, for us to see we don't need the ID actually. The reason I feel like, okay, you know what, let me just put the ID. Later we'll come back to it. So PHP, so I need to echo out. I have to echo out each of them. So PHP echo. So this is coming from all data, right? So since it's coming from all data, I need to even use for each loop. Remember that was what we used also in to-do list. So this is fetching out associative array. I've also accessed each of the keys of this array. We have to loop. So I'm going to write PHP for each loop. So for each of all the data as index or key, depending on whatever word you shall want to use, take the data okay. So since we use for each here, we need to end this for each statement. So this is table row, so the ending part will be after the table row. So PHP end for each semicolon. You can see this one is colon, this other part, the ending is always semicolon. Let me adjust this one too, so we can, let me adjust it to the front so we can get to see the barriers. So now we can access this data for each of the index. So I'm just going to say data that is holding ID. Data that is holding ID. So this should fetch out the ID number for us. I can just copy this and okay, let me just continue first. Oh, sorry. I can just copy this. The next one is the name, right? So this would be full name. Remember the naming, all this stuff has to be the exact name of the table column. ID full underscore name, username, everything must tally. So that's how we are fetching each of them one by one. Now this stuff, PHP echo, there's a short way of writing echo. I don't know if you remember when I taught you this thing the very first time I started this PHP. So instead of always writing greater than sign question mark PHP echo, there's a shorter way of doing it. I can just come here and just write, which is the same thing. So I'll just come here and write equal to here. So this thing you are seeing here is exactly the same thing as what you are seeing here, but this is like a shorter form of writing it. So I don't need to type echo and I don't need to type PHP. So PHP, I mean question mark equal to is the same thing as all those things we are seeing. So I would like to stick with this for now. So I'll continue with the rest. So this one will be username. Change it to username. What's the next one? Username faculty department. Faculty. Department. Admission date, admission type. Admission date. Admission type. Good. Comments, yeah, comments. So this is a button. So for comments, we have to trace where that actual data is. So this is where the data is, which is the three dot dots. If you remember, this is just a pop-up. So this is the three dot dots I'm talking about. So where the content is. So that's what I'm going to put for this one. So I'm just going to come here and put comments. Oh, I don't make mistake. Okay, yeah, so comments. Let me adjust it like this. Okay, so that's all. I think that's all. So let me refresh this now and let's see. You can see. Wait, why am I seeing greater than? I mean less than here in each of them. I think I must have done some mistakes. Okay, these are remove, mistake, remove. Okay, let's refresh again. So this is the data. Now this stuff don't shrink because I mean this parts. So it don't shrink because these things don't take up some kind of space, I guess. But I think it still looks fine. Unless you want to increase the length of the width of this box. I think that ChatGPT done for us. Let me even see if I can do the increments. Where is it located? Container py container. Let's see if I use container fluid. Let's spell this fluid way. Fluid.
This is wetin dey happen to your hand.
Now now fluid, this is it. I dey wonder the mumu spelling of that fluid. Okay, it has expanded it now. So this one looks much better.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Click on pop-ups, just testing. Okay, pop-up, just testing. Pop-up. Oh, there is something wrong with the model. We have to make it specific. Remember that incident that I talked about, this pop-up thing. So we have to make it specific for each row. Where is that model pop-up? So this is it. So I need to take the ID. So I'll just copy this first part since we're going to fetch the ID. So the pop-up, for me to make it unique, I'm going to change the target. I think target example model black. Put this here. Then change this ID. Put it here. Then this one to put it here. So to make the model specific for each row. So row 1 to take example model 1. If it's row 2, example model 2. So it won't interrupt each row. Let me refresh this again. Pop up, just testing. Next one, I passed my interview, so it's working. This one, there's no comments. This one, okay, whatever. Okay, so it's working. So these are all our data. But the action is not working yet. We've not worked on the actions. They are just dormant codes. We have not started working on it, but the reading is indeed working. So let's just, before we talk about the actions, let's clear our records. Let's sort out these clear records. So the clear records is just like, emptying all the data from that particular records table. So instead of us coming here to be deleting it one by one, once you click on it once, you want it to clear everything at once. And it's not here, the query we are going to write, they didn't teach it here. So it's actually truncate. There's something we call truncate. So truncate a table. When you truncate a table, what you are trying to say here, you're trying to delete all record from that table. So my SQL truncate is not yet sure. So that's what we're gonna use. So let's see, I'll just go to my PHP zone. So this first zone is about reading from the database. Now this other zone is what are we going to say now? Clearing all records at once from the database. So how we're going to do that? We have to first confirm that we want to perform that action, which means we have to confirm that this button is clicked first, which means we have to use is set, and we also have to name this button clear records. So let me go to the front end and check the name. This is clear records. I have not given it any name, so I'm going to give it a name. So I'll just name it clear underscore records. So let me go back to PHP. So I'm gonna say if is set posts. Wait, did I just write posts? In that case, I need to put a form. So I named it what, clear records, right? Clear records. So if this is submitted, now this post, that should mean that I might need to add a form. Yeah, I think. Let's see, supposed to put a form tag. Method is posts. So I'm going to take this whole stuff, put it inside, in between the form. So once I click on it, the post method reactivates. That is why this post here can work, this global variable posts. So yeah. Okay, so once it is set, once it is clicked, what should I do? So I want to run SQL query. So like I said, the command for the SQL query is truncate. So truncate table, that's the name. Truncate table, then the name of the table, records, Shikina, very simple code. So this is the SQL statement for clearing a database table at once. So you just write truncate table. I would like to store this in a variable just like the way I did this one. Okay, so I'm going to store it in a variable. Let me store it in this variable. SQL. By the way, you can give it any name. I just like giving it SQL. So I'll store it in this variable. Then I need to connect it, as in, because this is just a statement, it's just like a code, it's not doing anything. So I have to connect it to the database. So just the way I connected this one. So I can just copy this and paste. So the connection has actually happened. So this connection, the database will run this SQL query to execute it, then automatically the table is cleared. So we don't even need to do anything. Like, this is the end of this code in terms of clearing. This is the end. But we need to redirect. So once it has cleared, what should happen? So let's redirect the page to still be in the same page. So the URL for the same page, and just copy it from here. Copying, paste. So, and always, like I said, whenever you are writing header functions, always come back under it and put exit function. these two work together. So on the norms side, it would have been okay. Like this would work now if I had to test it now, it will clear it. But I'm thinking probably if we have some kind of alert notification, like saying all record has been cleared. If I click it now, it will clear. Let me refresh. Clear records. You can see everything is cleared. No student records found. You can see that condition we checked that first time. So no student record found because it's clear. Let's see if it's cleared here. So let me refresh this page with my admin. You can see it's cleared. So it's working. Our design here don't scatter because I added that form tag. Yeah. Because I added this form tag. It can't scatter my design. Okay. ChatGPT, please come to the rescue. Help me align these two buttons side by side. I think using flex, using bootstrap flex. So then div flex blah 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 blah. So as students blah blah blah. Okay, copy. Shall not say flex will be involved. Paste. Ah, how did I just okay? Okay, so let's see if there's a better change. Good. So let's try again. Add new students, Gladys, whatever, whatever, whatever. Submit. Let's add another one. Alex, education, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. Submit. Oh, nothing here. Whatever. Last one. Yeah, let me just put something for this one. Submit. Oh, I always forget to put something. Test. Submit. Okay, so view records. These are the records. So it's working fine. So clear all records. Cleared. Should we put alert? Do you feel we should put alert like all record has been cleared, or it's okay to just leave it this way? Since we will see I'm saying indeed. We know they see anything. Our brain is supposed to tell us say don't clear Abby. And probably this one, no student records, so it's obvious that no records there. Okay, so I will have to put this thing back again because now we have to do the next parts and it will involve us needing some data. Submit. Sorry, give me a second. Okay, sorry. Um. Okay, so next part. Let's see. So we can hammer on show, update, delete. Which of them should we start with? Let's start with show. for the show, I think I created a show file, show.php, show.php, show.php. Okay, so something like this. Okay, let's go back. So for this show to work, for me to click this show have to be specific to that particular row. So let me add another information. So this show, when I click show, I want to see data that involve Gladys alone, all this information. If I click show for this Alex, I want to see only Alex related information, which means all of these data, even the update and the delete, all of them need to be specific to that row. So which means we are not totally true with the index aspect. We need to sort out these parts. These are buttons. So I think instead of using buttons, because okay, the button can be okay for the deletes, but for the updates and the show, we can actually use an anchor tag for them, because we don't need a summation, a form tag for them to work. Because the update is just a URL taking us to another update page, so it's not as if it's the one doing the real updating. And why the show is just taking us to another page. So I'm going to use anchor tag. So but the delete should still remain as button because it's a real action and the type will be submit. So later will come for the delete. And I think for this delete, button won't work effectively. I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember something. I think there was one time I did one project using this vanilla PHP. The button was misbehaving in terms of deleting, but when I use an input, there are two ways of using. I don't know if you know, there are two ways of creating a button in PHP. One of them is using the button tag, and another one is using an input tag. But anyways, we'll get to the delete part when we reach that point. So for now, we're going to use anchor tag for this show and this update. So anchor tag, remember anchor tag involve URL, so which will take us to the show page. Now, what's the show page? So the show page is show.php, which is this page. But now, let me show you something. If I come here, let me refresh this page. If I click show here, see where it's taking me to. Let me go back. If I click show here again for this next row, it's taking me to the same page. It's not taking me to a specific unique page for this particular information of this person. So that's why you can't just come here and write show.php alone. So you need to you need to identify the ID of that particular role you are dealing with. So you are just going to come here and put question mark ID equal to. So for example, if it's the first row, it will be 1. If it's the second row, it will be 2. You grab, and for us to get this ID data, it's just the same thing, just the same way we got this ID here. So you can just copy this echo stuff that we did here and paste it in this place where the number is supposed to be in. So it will be fetching out that ID for that particular row. So this same logic is what we're going to use for the updates as well. So I'll just copy this and paste it here. But this time I'm not show.php. I think I created one edit.php for the updates. So the page is edit.php, then the ID where it is located. Now it won't work because we've not, like, it's still showing us. Notice, see the URL here, ID 1, because that's the first row. The next one, if I click show, ID 2, the second row, you can see that it's working. But this one is still showing static because we are yet to make it dynamic. The show page, you can see everything here is static, all the names here are static, so we have to work on it now to make it show the real data that we are looking for. You grab. So how are we gonna do that? That's the next question, as usual. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Show. So I'm going to put my PHP as usual. So let's see how to undo show method. You guys are really learning a lot. Like you guys are all these information, all these things. This particular example is a perfect example of saying that you are really getting to understand backend very well. And I'm trying to ensure that you know how to do all actions. Show. I know we didn't do show in that to do app. We didn't do show for that each of the row of the table. Probably you can do it for yourself. Just reason how it can be possible or add ChatGPT. So at least show, update, delete, adding, clearing all records, stuff like that, all these things. So that key things you need to know. So now let's see how to show this data properly for a particular row. So what I'm just going to do, you have to do the same thing that you always need to do. You have to introduce your database in, like importing the database and connecting, basically this whole theory. You still need to do that. So I'm going to bring in my database file here, call the function and store it in this variable. Then I need to run statement. So reading from the database, instead of me saying reading, probably for this one I'll say reading all records, because this one we are fetching all. But for this particular show we're not fetching all, we are fetching a specific role. That's like a specific ID. So I'll say reading reading out a specific data from the database. Yeah, specific. So like specific row. So that's what we're going to work with now. You can get rid of this. Yeah, we can't get rid of that. So which approach? I'm thinking of which approach I will use now to really do this thing. Looking at specific data. Sorry, just give me a moment. Because now we have to get it by the ID. Okay, let's try this approach. So I'm going to write the statements that's fetching something from a particular ID. If you remember PHP, MySQL, fetching stuff, we are still going to use the select normal. Yes, we still need to use select. So let me put it in this place. If I run this one now, so this, we are selecting only these 3 columns. Probably let me just say select all. Let me use asterisk. Select all customers. So you can see all customer. Now I can just still come here and say I want to add a where clause, where ID is equal to 1. So that means I want to fetch out only this first row. Only this first row. So if I run this command now, unknown column ID. Okay, so the name is not ID. I think the name is customer ID. Let me check again. Yeah, customer ID. So let me just come back here. Where customer ID is equal to 1. That's the ID is equal to 1. So if I run this query now, you can see it takes the first row. If I put ID 2, it will take only the ID 2 row. You can see ID 2 row. So this is the command we are going to use exactly. So select everything from this table where condition, where we want a specific ID to be retrieved. So I'm just going to come here and write that exact query. Select all data from the column from this particular table, records table, where the ID is equal to something. I will use question mark for that something. So where is equal to something, I'm going to store this one in a variable. Now I need to query, right? So I need to, that's the first statement. So the first statement, I want to do it in a way that I can be breaking the explanation in a way. So I will say, um, let me use this kind of comments for this asterisk. So reading out a specific data from the database. So I will use this other comments for like each role explanation. So this first command below fetches, like gets a specific record by its ID. So the next step will be for us to prepare SQLite statements. Remember, I use question mark here. Remember that first part of creation, we use question mark. So we are going to use that same logic for this case. So the next step would be to prepare. So we are going to follow this exact format in this index. So this is the first part, the SQL part, which is, for my case, we are selecting which is this part. So the next part after it is prepare statements. After prepare, bind statements. After binding, execute. So we're going to follow that exact format. So let me just copy this. Let me copy it like this. Copy this. So SQL enters here, connection enters here. So after preparation, binding, we have to bind. So remember this part now, see the way we binded this stuff, each with their respective variable names here. So we're going to bind as well for this case. But in this case, we don't need all of this. We just need the ID. So I'm just going to come here and write. Let me just copy this comment statement. By the way, you can also put all these checks. Wait, I don't get time, I beg. I'll just put this next part. I intentionally just want to ignore these error checks and just go straight to the point. So I will just say my SQLite stmt bind param. So the bind param, just like the way this convention works, the statements, which is this first connection statements, that's the first variable here, followed by the type, the data type. So all these ones are strings, so that's why it is SSS. Then you put the variables of them. So first part st, the variable name stmt, which is also what I used to name this one. By the way, you can use any name. I just chose to use it as a short form of saying statements. So that's the first one. So comma, the next column, it's I means integer, the string type. The type is an integer because ID is a number 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm using I. So now the next part after this I is the ID itself. That's the actual ID. So I'm just going to come here and put ID variable. ID variable, which means we need to get that variable in a way. That's what it means. We need to get that variable because if you notice here, we have all these variable names and you can see them here. So these are the variable names. So which means we need to put a variable, get this variable somewhere. Something like, where did I even place this? Above, right? So maybe something around here. Variable ID. So now how can we really fetch this particular ID? This is quite tricky. To fetch it, I guess we can just use the get. Remember, we have get and post requests. All this submission stuff we're doing, we're using post requests. But when it involves using a URL, we're going to use get request. So get ID. So something like this. So this is what is holding the ID. Post request involve form submission when you are clicking PAM. But when you want to get something from a URL, notice this URL now. We have W3 school mysql slash blah blah. Anything after this question mark, now like a get request. So that's why when you come to this place now, once you click show, anything after this question mark here, like this part, it's like a get request, and we're using ID, so it will just fetch that particular portion, and to hold that portion, inside here. So this our ID now is now retrieving it. So that ID is what is entering inside here. So we are good to go. So the next part after this binding, after we bind, next one is to execute. So I can just copy this one, paste it here to execute it for us. Execute. Then after executing, we need to bring it out as an associative array. Yeah, so just like the way we did it in our index records, which is this part here. Where is it? Yeah, this command here. We'll say MySQL fetch all results associative array, this kind of statements. So something like that we can use here as well. It's results, expected type MySQL results found bold, true or false. Okay, so in this particular part now, expected type, with fetch all results as an associative array in numeric array and blah blah blah. The first one, MySQL Lite results. The MySQL Lite results objects by blah 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 blah, index results array holds all values. Expected type MySQL results found bool. Okay, this is returning true or false. For this particular scenario, is returning true or false, so we can't make use of this function in terms of getting it to the associative array. It only worked fine for this one because this one we are just kind of like just retrieving all, then we use this query. So I think this particular query matches well with this next function. That's why it works fine. So this particular query matches exactly with this function. Remember when we went to that documentation? This is it. So this is the documentation. You can see MySQL query works fine to be a result. Then we can now select this one. But in this particular case, we didn't use MySQL query at all in this our show. You can see we use MySQL STMT execute statement. So we use another exact different function to execute this statement. So how can we get it back? How can we fetch this thing out in an associative array regardless? So what we can do, there's another function of doing the same thing, of getting an associative array. So the function is MySQL Lite fetch assoc, meaning associative. So that's the alternative function. So fetch the next row in associative array. So this holds results. So now let's put this results here. MySQL Lite fetch assoc results. Fetch assocs. Why is this still showing? Let me see. If I say MySQL Lite fetch array results, MySQL, wait, results. Okay, is it because I'm using S? I don't know. Wait, let me see. Let me change this thing to, okay, it's supposed to be now. MySQL SQL Lite assoc Okay, so this first one worked. Because this is like another third way I know of. And this one didn't bring any error. Hmm, interesting. So that means now I've showed you three different approaches of getting stuff in an array. The first one that I did, I used MySQL fetch all, then results, then MySQL. So you can see the function is different. MySQL fetch all, fetch underscore all. You get the point. Why this other one now? I tried this one. It's giving me this error, like as if it's not still accepting it. Now I try this next one, and this one it seems to with results. Let me put S. Wait, oh, I bind this parameter and I'm not give a variable, abi. Bind param. Mm, bind param. Bind param. Bind param. Okay, no variable. I think something must be wrong somewhere. Let me see. Let me just paste this stuff to ChatGPT and see where the issue might be. Select records or question mark. Prepare statements. Bind. Execute. Okay. I'm supposed to write one more command. Execute. Yeah, the other one. This one gets a results set from a prepared statements. Mm-hmm. Mm. So I'm supposed to put another next function. Although I didn't put this next function for when we are doing the code. So you don't need to put it for this particular function, but for this show you need to put it. So this next function is my SQLite stmt get results stmt. So get results, that's the variable we store. So that means this one I can just come here, instead of putting results I'll use the get results. No more error. Let me even see this other one too. If I change this one to get results, no error, it worked. So both function is actually working. So both function are saying the same thing anyways. They are like performing the same action, but they are written in different ways. MySQL fetch array, but you are specifying the type of array. MySQLite array. But this one, MySQL fetch associative, as in associative. You already make them associative by default, so it will know that it's fetching associative array. This one you are specifying an array, but you are not. You have to specify which type of array, whether index array, that's numeric array, numeric array or associative array. So whichever one you want to use. So for now, I'll just comment this so you guys will know that there is also another option. That's like three different options I've showed you guys now. So this should work. So this would fetch the data for that particular ID. Then we need to see how we can see it in our front end. So I think I will just save the data here as data, the variable here as data. So again, let me recap again. So first of all, we imported our database connection. We imported our database connection here. Then we get the ID for that particular page. We're in show.php. So that show.php route, that page has an ID. So that get request will locate it and take that number, which is 1. So that number 1 is what is saved inside this ID. So we have ID equal to 1. It depends on the page. It can be also ID equal to 2, depending on which row you are showing. So next we connect our database normal. Connect our database. Then our goal is that we are trying to read. Probably let me even put this statement from the very, very top. But that's the goal. So connect our database. So next part, we are trying to read all the data that is in that specific ID. So select all data from records table where the ID is something. So that specific ID. So we need to bind it since we're using that question mark. So that's why we have to bind it using the bind variable. So we have to first prepare the statements first, the connection between the database and this statement. So we connected it and it's now working as this statement. Now we're binding it to this ID will be question mark, which is I, integer I, and this ID variable, which is this variable we've already generated here. That's what is storing it. So after that, we are now executing the prepare statement. Now this one is not like an extra one we need to do whenever we are using stuff like show. I think we're also going to do this when it comes to editing, because we're also going to edit for a specific row. So we are going to use the same command for editing as well. So just know that we need this extra command when we are dealing with show and edit. Then you can now end it all with this final command to fetch the data. Now the last thing we need to do is retrieving each of those data and showing them out, right? So first of all, let's see something. I don't know if I can print out from here or echo. Let me see if it will work. I want to echo data. Can we echo an array? I'm not sure. I think we have to print out the array for we to see it. Let's see if we can. Let me refresh this page. Okay, so this is the array: ID, full name Gladys, username Lexis, faculty. Yeah, this is the associative array. The keys are the ID, full name, username. Okay, so for me to access it, because I have to rename it in each of these positions, so I have to access the keys for each of them. Okay, I have to access the keys for each of them. So data, full name. Okay, let's see. So let me just comment this. Let me comment this out. So data. So I'll go to where this data is. Full name. I'm going to echo. So the full name. So it's going to be data brackets. I think full name. Let me try this. Let me reload this. Yeah, it's working. Gladys. So that's how to fetch each of them using the keys. So full name. So I can just copy this and do it for the rest. So change the username. Change it to username. Remember this data. This is the data that is holding everything here. So I'm now placing their keys to get the data, and I'm putting it out using the shortcuts. Now this is an PHP echo, short way of writing it. So faculty, the same thing. Faculty. Next one, departments. Departments. Next one, admission dates. Admission dates. What this one? Admission type. Comments. Refresh. Gladys, Lexis code, microbiology, diploma, kids, comments. Okay, there's no comments for this case. Back. At this back will take us to the index records page. So back would be just a URL. So take us to index records page.php. Okay, so let's go back. So let's see Alexander row now. If I click show Alexander, Alex, you can see everything is specific now. Back. Let's create a new student. Chinazol, whatever. Dates. add something, submit, view records, Chinazor. Let's check our records, show Chinazor, something. So it's working. So that is how we are done with show method. More. I don't know, but I feel maybe we should stop here. People better say I dey
Lazy, is
bomb.
this thing too much? Oh?
You see what I thought? I say we could just, I don't know, say we could just stop here.
Much, I don't think so.
Then make I dey add more, bombard una more. So
Hey,
you guys need to digest this one first.
so now one project with this thing will never finish.
So at least for now we just have update and delete remaining, and although we also need to notice that we have delete here also, we have two places where we have delete, so we have to work on both of those delete places and also the update place. I think the updates, this will take us to our update form, which means we have to also retrieve all the previous form that is coming, then we update and stuff like that. So don't worry, it usually feels this way because all these things are like new stuff, so it will feel like a kind of pressure or stuff. But with time, you try to grab it. And I like as I use this print out, so you can see that you can also fetch out stuff to test it and see what is coming out from the database. So also you know that okay, there's also other ways of doing the same thing. So this one too can work. Nice if you also put data variable for it. So whichever one you want to use is your choice. So let's just stop here. I will push this code.
Lazy, please, I have a question.
Sure, ask.
Please, explain to me how one project get all this index.html, index.php, um, show.php, edit.php, db connect. Why people laughing?
The point is that each of all these index of it, all of them represent different pages. That's why. So this index.php is talking about the home page. So that's why it needs its own, which is talking about this page. It needs its own file. Then this next page, this one too needs its own file, which is index.records. It needs its own file. While show needs its own file because it's only show.page. Like any new page needs to have its own file. That's just the point. So that's why they're like this, and it helps in simplifying the whole logic itself in a way. Even when we are through with all of these things, I will show you how to rearrange the code to make it look more neater. But that will be after I am done with the update and delete. Then I'll now show you a way of readjusting it, which means we might even need to create more Excel files so that the code will look cleaner and look more more readable, so it not seem as if it's just bombarded anyhow. So what should I write here now? So we created the read and show functionalities. Git push. So you can just follow the video. If you get any error or see any mistake in your form, you can check that repository. That's why I invited you guys to that GitHub repository. That time Chinaza was asking me that she didn't see button and all of that. Why you not go check the repository and confirm your code and confirm that one, see what the mistake with your code doing. So that's why I'm also inviting you guys to have access to that repository. That's why I'm also pushing in so that you can also compare quickly. Because sometimes when you are watching a video, you might have mistake something or miss something in that video. So yeah, we'll meet again. So I don't know. I think we're going to meet on Monday, Abby. Or do you feel we should meet on Tuesday so you can have more time to finish the previous videos and this one together? How would you like it?
I think Monday will be better. So you'll be giving us a day interval. If you push it to Tuesday now, you might do it Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay.
Then we'll not have time.
Okay.
Let's be
So it's
Monday,
better if
Wednesday,
you're giving up
Friday.
Okay.
a day interval. Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Okay. No wala. Your wish is my command. All right. Have a lovely weekend, guys.